Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We haven't had this many people here in a while, and I forgot that we're not supposed to schmooze, so we're like 4 minutes late. We're never 4 minutes late to services, but it's really nice to see people here again. We're glad you're here.
We're on Simchat Torah time.
Exactly. Special Simchas. Okay. So welcome and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I did not see if there was a rainbow earlier, but it did have that kind of look like it could have been. Did you guys see? There was like 3 minutes of rain. It was very exciting. Would you like to move? Switch side. I know, this is not my side. All right, so.
Is it new? Is it new?
No, I just don't want this to be in the way. Yes. All right, so let's get started. So we are going to sing just to welcome everyone here together. Let's start with a little Hine to get us in the mood. So we'll start with Hine Matov Uman Naim on page 10. How good it is for brothers and sisters to be able to dwell and be together. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad, hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. So it is a new Jewish year, and it is also a sort of new year of our 7th grade B'nai Mitzvah class. And you know, in the last year's B'nai Mitzvah class, because it was right in the middle of everything COVID, we had to do things a little bit differently, and we still have to do things a little bit differently this year as well, but we do feel, and our reopening task force also feels, that at least we can slowly start to get back to having some participation again. So it is my honor to be able to invite some members of our amazing Bar Mitzvah, Max Bedratsik's family, up to help us in our Kiddush and our candle blessing. So if I can invite up Mari, Jared, Taylor, and Jamie to help us. And if you guys wouldn't mind, if you want to keep your masks on while you're up here, and we're going to start on page 2 with a candle blessing.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them,
So may we,
So
by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'chag ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen. All right, and then also we have a challah here, and even though the challah blessing isn't right there, Mari, will you come over? I just want to see you grab the challah with your nail. Oh.
On plate? Or just the
see you unwrap it because I just want to see how that works.
Like magic.
Amazing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys, and thanks, Max and Owen, for helping us.
Do we actually know how long it has been?
It has been, I think, a year and a half since we've had someone lighting candles who wasn't one of us or our children. Nicely done. It's beautiful. And as those of you know who watched me do it and watched Jonah do it for many weeks, it's not as easy as it looks, so you did a wonderful job. So we are so delighted to be able to welcome everyone in again. So we're going to turn in now to, it's really a song that you traditionally sing at the Shabbat table, but it's all about being able to welcome in, really about welcoming the angels and feeling like every time that we come together to have Shabbat, that we have the divine presence in our midst. So on page 24, we sing Shalom Aleichem, welcoming in those Shabbat angels into our midst, greeting them to be with us together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Neshalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeidchem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we'll invite you now to please rise for our call to worship, the words of the Baruch Hu on page 28. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. On 32. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And we join in the words of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We turn to the words of the Micha Mocha on page 40. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedor b'kodesh, norati lo osef eleh, norati lo osef eleh. So this week we officially ended a month of Jewish holidays. It's like a long month of holidays, finally. And I didn't drive by Ladue, but I think that our sukkah may still be up. And here's the thing, is that Sukkot is the most amazing holiday, and we want to keep it going all year long. And as those of you know, you often hear us say this on Friday night services, that even though Sukkot at some point does have to end, at some point we will actually take the sukkah down. We still talk about it all year long. Because when we turn to Hashkivenu, which is on page 42, it talks about the idea of a sukkah. It says that there is always a sukkah of peace that is sheltering us and keeping us safe. So even when our sukkah does eventually come down, we'll still ask God to spread that shelter over all of us. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. On page 45, we are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. I invite you, if you will, to please rise on page 46 and join us in words of tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanora, El Elyon, gomer chasadim tovim, v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imohot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים והופך עולים, ומציל אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הקום, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. Please be seated. I will turn now to offer a prayer for peace on page 60 with the words of Shalom Rav.
Amen.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol Shalom. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lechol Shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et samcha Yisrael bechol עת ובחושך bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Last Sunday, I guess it was, we had a virtual religious school service, and it was led by our 7th graders, or 8th graders, excuse me. It was really kind of awesome. And when we got to the Mishaberach, we had an interesting discussion because they said, you know, how can we say the names of people who need healing prayers? And I reminded them something that we have talked about many times here, which is this idea that, you know, it can feel so magical and so healing to be able to hear your name read for Mishaberach. But we also know that for some people, if you're not quite ready to tell people that you are ill or that you are hurting, that it doesn't seem right. And so the custom that we started here years ago was to say that if there is someone who you're thinking of, who you know would like to hear their name aloud, whether they're watching from home or whether they're sitting here or whether you can just go home and say to them, hey, I said your name for Misha Berach tonight, we'd invite you to share them at this time. And if you think they're not quite ready, just know that you can say them in your hearts. But if there's someone you're thinking of, we invite you to share. We're also tonight thinking of Lisi Weinstein and Arlene Alper, of Jerry Krause and Aubrey Craig, of Beverly, of Ida, of Kelly. We're thinking about Marcia and Rivka Razel. We're thinking about Alice, and we're thinking about Drew Patchen. So for all of them and for all the names you shared, we offer this healing prayer on page 253, and we pray that healing and wholeness comes their way. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor Bracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor Bracha Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Ose shalom b'maroma, huya ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. So, here's an important Hebrew word that you've probably heard before, but I'm going to teach it again to you tonight, just in case you don't remember it. The word is minhag. And what minhag means is custom. And it is a custom here at Temple Israel, has been for a very long time, that whenever the big holidays fall, not Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, but all of the other holidays, that we always celebrate them on the Shabbat following that day. So a few days ago was the holiday of Simchat Torah. So tonight, Friday night, is when we celebrate Simchat Torah. It is also a minhag, a custom, that when we do that you are supposed to finish reading the book of Deuteronomy and start over with Genesis. It is also a minhag that you unroll the entire Torah, because if you're going to have someone finish Deuteronomy and start Genesis, you have to be able to see end to end. What else? It's another minhag that you are supposed to eat either caramel or candy apples on Simchat Torah. It is another minhag that we celebrate consecration on Simchat Torah, which is where we welcome in our newest students. So, Ari, that would be you. But here's the thing. This is kind of a different sort of year. And so sometimes, even if it is the minhag to do these certain things, you can't always do the minhag that you want to do. And so Rabbi Michael and I realized that this year we wanted to be able to do something special for Simchat Torah, but because we're not quite ready to have all of the kindergartners and their families and everyone coming up here and singing and dancing together, because we are not quite ready to figure out how you can unscroll an entire Torah, and we did try it, but 6 feet apart is very, very dangerous when you're holding a Torah scroll. So we decided not to do that, right, for the sake of keeping our Torah. So we thought that maybe we would do something different. Because we know that no matter what, we do have to be able to finish Deuteronomy and start Bereshit all over again so that Max can be ready to read it tomorrow. So we thought that maybe we should do that by taking out 2 Torahs. But we thought that maybe we wouldn't just do any 2 Torahs. That we figured that for the ending, for Devarim, for Deuteronomy, that we would use the oldest Torah scroll that we have, which is our Westminster Scroll. This is the Torah that sometimes we refer to as the Holocaust Torah, but really it is more appropriately called the Westminster Scroll. This is one of these scrolls that was rescued from Europe and that is on loan to us. I mean, it's funny there? Yeah, it's on loan to us. And we don't use it very often because, quite honestly, it is so old and in such poor condition because it was rescued from the Shoah that if you read it too often, the letters literally fly off the page, which is kind of cool, but also is not what you want from your Torah. So we don't use it very often. So we thought that we would finish Deuteronomy, and then we would start all over again with our newest Torah, which is our small Torah here. And I don't actually know how long we've had that before, but I know that it has not been very long, and that actually the person who gave it to us gave it to Temple Israel because they realized that for bar and bat mitzvahs, who are often not quite at the height of adults yet, or as strong as adults yet, that it's very, very heavy to lift a Torah. I'd also like to think that maybe they realized that some rabbis might someday come along who have less upper body strength, because personally I cannot lift this Torah right here, so it's very nice to have a little one. So we're going to read Bereshit all over from that one. So in order to do that, we'll have to take it out of the ark. So if I can ask you, will you do a Tree of Life too? And I'll take it out. Yeah. So if I can ask you to please rise, and we're going to take one of our Torahs out of the ark. The other one, the heavy one, is already here, so you wouldn't see us struggling with it. And we'll sing just a little bit of Tree of Life to get things started. It is a tree of life for them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Beautiful, have a seat. So, even though Rabbi Michael and I are going to be our Torah readers, we would love to have your help with our Torah blessings. Where did I put my siddur? Here we go. Okay, so our Torah blessings can be found on page 250. Oh,
Can I just say one thing before?
Yeah,
you
please.
Once you say the Torah blessings, then you've said the Torah blessing.
Well, that is true.
And then everything you say after that should be Torah.
All right.
There's just 2 things that I think are really remarkable about our Westminster Scroll that I think are something to think about in terms of old and new before we start.
Sure.
The scroll that is on our bima right now is older than the Constitution of the United States of America. That's the first thing. I just feel like I love that fact, that if you could go to Washington and see the Constitution and look at the actual text, this is older. The second thing that I think is really remarkable about our scroll, that it's such a blessing to read from, to hop from this scroll into the other one, is just this. The school of scribes that wrote this scroll no longer exists. And the script they use, although they're both in Hebrew, this script is no longer known and no longer in existence. This is it. This is what we've got. Although what's sacred and holy and special is that whether that is true or not, every Torah is kept in perpetuity in such good check that we know that the Torah text that you will be reading tomorrow is the exact Torah text that this Torah contains as well. So that being said, it's very exciting to be doing this reading, and it's very unique and special. And now I think I'll stop talking, and I appreciate it if we can. Let's begin the blessing.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaMorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. So I have to say that usually I make Rabbi Michael do Deuteronomy and I get to do Genesis, and it's because Deuteronomy is super hard. So, but I said that I would do it this year, so he can help me with the translation a little bit, just in case I mess it up.
Oh, that's what, okay, that was, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. I should have told you that first, sorry. Okay. V'lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe Asher yado Adonai fanim al panim. All right, so that says, and never again did there rise a prophet in Israel like Moses, who was able to see God face to face. L'chol ha'otot v'hamoftim asher shlacho Adonai lasot be'eretz Mitzrayim. L'faro l'chol avadav l'chol artso. And all of the signs and the wonders that he did when he sent the people out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of Pharaoh, from slavery to Haaretz, to the land. U'lechol hayad hachazakah ולכל המורה הגדול אשר עשה משה לעיני כל ישראל. All right, so, and it says, and then with a strong hand and the great teachings of Moses, that there was never again like that in the eyes of Israel. Okay? Yeah, excellent.
Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning of God's creating the universe, God created the heavens and the earth. Va'aretz hayta tohu vavohu, v'choshech al panei tahom, v'ruach Elohim merachepet al panei hamayim. And the land was filled with chaos, and darkness was on the cover of the deep, and the Spirit of God fluttered above the surface of the waters. Vayomer Elohim yehi or vayehi or, and God spoke and said, let there be light, and there was light. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov, vayavdel Elohim bein haor ubein hachoshech. And God saw the light, for it was good, and God separated between light and darkness. Vayikra Elohim laor yom v'lachoshech kara laila, vayerev vayivoker yom echad. And God called to the light day, and to the darkness God called evening. And there was evening and morning one day.
We join our blessings after. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet,
וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה. Amen. So, so much of the symbolism of being able to finish the Torah and to start all over again is this idea that we know that all of life is just a cycle. That every year we come back and we do the same teachings over and over again, but of course we are changed. And I have to tell you that I think about 2 years ago when we were in here and we had the Torah stretched all the way out that door, and we had so many people being able to rejoice and had our kindergartners with us. And then last year, when we had Simchat Torah in our house, I believe, with us on Zoom and you all at home. So even though each year we are reading these Torah texts again, and each year things are a little bit different, this year is already a lot better than last year. So we pray that just as we are able to at least now read from the Torah in your presence, that we are able to be with you again and at least have these sacred scrolls. We may not quite be ready to be able to bring them to you as we did before. We're still a little funny about that. But God willing, next year when we come together again, may we be able to experience the simcha, the joy of Torah, but also the joy of community and the joy of knowing that things really do come around again and again. And just as things do feel a little bit better than they did a year ago, then God willing, a year from now, we will start to feel a whole lot better again. So I'll ask you now, if you will, to please rise, and we're going to return our little Torah to the Ark. This one we'll save for later. And I will ask you, if you will, to please turn to page 282 at the bottom of the page for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'artzot, velo asamanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchakenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. So even though this is a time when we talk about simcha, when we talk about sameach and being happy, we know that there are those who are here with us tonight and who are watching from home who are here because they're honoring a loss in their life. And so we recall with love the names of those taken from us in recent days. And our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names: Ellen Beiersdorf, Bernadine Schumann, and Shelley Stone. We now recall the names of those the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial: Corporal Lawrence S. Block, Louis Brown, Lorraine Berg, Therese Budwig Klein, Geraldine Seidel Coppersmith, Stephen Allen Dern, Isidore Enoch, Manuel Faber, Evelyn W. Fireside, Jacob Flegel, Eugene Freund, Walter Emmanuel Firth, Albert Gelfand, Walter M. Glazer, Carolyn Glassman, Ida Glazer, Esther Goldstein, Augusta Hyman, Ruth G. Hyman, Howard Handelman, First Lieutenant Jack Herman, Libby Beatrice Jacobs, Irving Korn, Lillian Koslow, Joseph Lamberg, Norman Litz, Anita Medali, Dr. Herschel Medali, Nathaniel Mendelson, Betty Missler, Charles Polsky, Bernadine Paulus, Michelle Cheryl Rich, Bernard Ritzer, Samuel Rothman, Jenny Rothschild, Sidney Salada, Julius Sanger, Harry Schneider, Lorraine Schwartz, Ben Schanfeld, Merle Silverstein, Florence Rosenkrantz Steiner, Sidney Sferin, Dr. Robert Tatkow, Paula Coulter-Weil, Lily Weinstein, Bernice M. Wilkerson. So those names and the names we keep in our hearts, we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divarach yirtzeh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael,
בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה. תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה. בחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. We say amen. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. Please be seated. All right, so this song has become one of Rabbi Michael and my favorites, but I sort of think this is the last time you can do it in the holiday season, don't you think? I say until next week when we'll do it again because it's so good. All right, but this one does seem very fitting for Simchat Torah and this idea of just coming back again and again to the place that we've left. We close tonight with a We Return. We return. We return. We return. Return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to you. To you. To you. Return again to you. So we say Mazel Tov in advance to Max Pedracic and to his family. We know you're going to be an amazing way to start off this new B'nai Mitzvah year. That's going to be so incredible. And to everyone else, Mazel Tov, you made it through the holidays. We are officially ready to start a new year. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
Oh, you know what? It's very bright. Hold on, I'll turn the light down and then you.
No, it actually does work. It's just not very bright.
It's just not very bright.
It is. It's
You
just
see
all
it's
the other
on?
lights are so
It's
bright.
on. It's just not very bright. I know. I think it should be brighter.
No, every time Rabbi Michael's like, why isn't the
It's my
light
biggest
bright?
fetch. One day. Yeah, I'm gonna go. We'll get it right. We'll get it right. Yeah, and it's funny though. These three in the back never work, but they're working now. Oi. All right. You know what? They got we're together. All right, but you're right. That's easy now, though. But it doesn't. Because it's so pretty.
Yeah,
Oh, you want to see?
it's very cool.
It's the one which we hold.
So the style is very, very plain. That's what's unique about it. We had a sofer come because I wanted it repaired, and he basically was like,
you know your stuff. You can see that
Yeah,
I kind of cheated because I couldn't
yeah.
roll it to the end.
Yeah.
But I was like, if there's any place I
he
want to
said,
put it, it's on the
"You really
priestly
should repair
blessing.
it. Just keep trying to roll it. But when
That's
we
okay,
roll
I
it,
wasn't gonna
the
say
letters
anything.
come along,
No, but I was like,
and
no,
it
you know
breaks
what's so
my
funny
heart.
though
He
is
wants
that
to fix it.
I actually tried to roll it,
But
and
he said this
the
one,
letters
no
actually
fix
fly
it.
off the page, which
Other
like
ones,
something
yeah.
is so symbolic about that, but it's
Well, it's really neat because you don't really realize it, but literally the letters are actually sitting on top of the parchment.
Exactly.
They don't like soak in like you would.
exactly, and it's
Yeah, I can
so,
kind of
it's
see,
so
like,
amazing.
it looks like an image.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you can see here, actually, here, Julia.
It feels like someone
But that
copied.
right there, that actually is the priestly blessing.
Yes.
Yevarechecha Adonai
It
b'shmerecha.
seems like
Not
someone
amazing. I was like,
placed
all right,
them
that's
on
cool.
with
But here, you guys
glitters.
can see this is also super cool. Look at how even the stitching, like this, you would not see this in any of our other Torahs, that you can actually see where they
Right.
were stitching the parchment together. It's just a much older style.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, this is more of a Sephardic sort of a style, because one of the things, you don't see the crowns and stuff the way you would see them on
exactly,
the
exactly.
on
So
ours.
this one is much, and the shame is that this is much easier to read, I think, than another one.
It's a plan,
yeah.
without any
Yeah,
fancy
The,
schmancy.
the Ashkenazic people made everything more
I
complicated.
know this. You know what? It's terrible. We mess it up.
It's
But-
my
right,
tradition,
exactly.
but still.
No, all of us, and it's cool too that you can also see that it's the color is so different, right? Like in
Yeah.
those Torahs, it's really black.
Actually, the Torah which I read on my bat mitzvah was much harder to read.
no, that's what I'm saying. This is actually very.
No, this is
easy.
Yeah,
easier
and
because
I am
it's-
looking at it and say, why I cannot read that?
Yeah, no, this is
I
lovely.
know.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you had said that, I had to come up with
Yeah,
it.
oh no, it's so cool. You know what? I knew you would want to look at it. I was like, it's cool. Well, and even so, it was like when I rolled it today, I rolled it a bunch, and it makes me so sad because you really can't.
But you know,
use it.
I'll tell you,
Yeah, it's funny.
I mean,
You want to come see it?
the sad
really
thing is
cool.
that if you have a Torah that's pushed to actually to use it, I mean, that's what they're made for. You know, it's like many things in our lives.
So we were just saying. So what makes this Torah different than another one is in a
The script, the type, you know, what we say, our fonts, our typefaces, like in computers. Everybody knows what that means
Right.
now. It's more of a simpler, like you don't see, like, for example, and if you look like this word ish, and in the Torah scroll that you would see there, it has like little crowns on the top of it.
So
Well,
it's like
here,
it's like calligraphy, and then
Right.
also we were saying here this is different because you can actually see where they stitch the parchment together,
Right.
which you would never be able. You can't see in any of our other ones. But also, I was not joking about this one. That this one is actually too heavy for me to carry. Like I mean, I can physically lift it,
Yeah.
but because it's so big, and Rabbi Michael, how? I don't know if you remember. No, it's okay. I think it's like 35 pounds. So it's
Yeah.
not that it's
Really?
impossible.
Well,
to
but the
carry,
thing is
but,
that
like, it's large.
because it's, I mean, it's like just the physics of it, because it's so tall.
Right. I mean, so every year there's a ceremony in honor of the Holocaust, and Rabbi Michael carries this Torah, and I'm like, I can't hold it for more than a minute or two. Like I can hold it, but it's very uncomfortable. But like our little one that we usually use, it probably doesn't even weigh 10 pounds. I mean,
Wow.
it's something that easily a child would be able to carry, or a lady with not a lot of rubber.
Well, I don't actually know. One of the things I always wondered is the weight is in the wood, or is it in the? I think it's actually in the parchment.
It is. It's in the parchment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some where the wood is a little bit heavier than others, but this one is particularly interesting. Yeah, so it's cool, but I mean, certain pages that really like you can see. Hey, like you can even see like here where the letters have started.
Right. Where
fading,
it would be
yeah.
hard to see. Well, it actually like flex. It doesn't really fade. It's actually they fleck off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really crazy. So that's why. So this is not a kosher scroll,
Right.
Because the letters aren't there anymore. But no one wants to fix this. We actually had a cool discussion with our religious school students a few years ago, talking about should we fix it if we can, and it was very cool because they basically all said, just like Rabbi Michael said, the people who created the store are gone.
Right.
You know, so we should not go back and fix what they were the last people to touch.
It's a memory. It's
Right,
a
exactly.
connection.
Exactly. How much would you say this weighs? I said 35 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
It is so
It's so
heavy.
interesting because, like, when we have the ceremony where we all get together, some of them are so compact and light. And I got the Chevy, a truck of. It's so interesting, and this thing is built of. I don't know. Now I'm using all the Ford Tough. Like it's so robust. So that's actually one of the good things is that one of the sofairs who checked it said, if you want to, you can turn it. You should turn it once a year. So we do turn it once a year. But I get so nervous doing it. It's like,
And it is hard to roll. I mean, I really,
Yeah.
when I was rolling it
It's
today,
very
I was
stiff.
like,
You
oh,
can
this
see.
is really.
This is a
not
two-person
easy.
job
Oh, for
rolling.
sure. I mean, I was really thinking
And then
that
we have people,
honestly,
like,
if you would
holding
have
it.
4 people, I was like, you could have done
Usually.
2.
Right.
But
no frills. That's also the Ashkenazi.
Right, exactly,
There-
yeah.
It's if it was Italian, it's the you'd see all kinds of frills. No frills, all just business.
Carol.
Hi, Carol. And my friend Kathy wants to say
I had to see the scroll after she said all those things about it, you
So we
know.
were just saying this, what makes this one so
So,
different is
This
that
is the
there is
one
no,
Just the
there's
Holocaust.
no,
this is the Holocaust one.
no, sorry, just blanked on the name. There's no like crowns on it or anything. So it doesn't look like, so most Torahs that are Ashkenazic, they have, like from Eastern Europe, they have crowns and they're very fancy. Like it actually looks like crowns on them.
Yeah,
And this one is, it's almost looks like typeface. Like it really could have just been sort of written like this. And then also this to me is the coolest, is just that you can see.
Yeah.
So it's always hand done, but the way that they did this, like they don't, like most Torahs, it's almost as if you can't even see where the split is. And this one clearly someone,
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
actually did the.
Yeah, one of the things,
Being an Episcopalian,
Yeah.
is each panel a
they don't divide up into chapters or anything.
Correct.
They're
it's all
actually, they're,
continuous? It's not like it's a particular.
Correct.
no, right.
Yeah, so the only way that you sort of know where things are, and besides speaking Hebrew, but is there a breaks, or like this section
Yes.
Right.
is like, this is a particular section that any Torah you look in, it's going to look exactly like that.
Right.
So it's just the way that scribes do it, is there are particular unique sections, and every once in a while there'll be like a weird letter or something that's particularly cool.
But nowadays, they actually, they
So
copy
where are
these.
we in this?
So this one, I was just saying to Jay, so this one I couldn't roll all the way because it's so fragile.
Vayikra.
So,
It's
yeah,
about-
so
it's
this
in the
is
middle of the
priestly
Torah, right, yeah.
blessing.
So is,
Yes, I know. I know.
so one.
I was
one
waiting to
quick-
see you
one
had the
quick
thing.
question, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So when you said like the,
Yeah.
when you said that like the letters fall, like flying off the page,
Yeah.
Is it like when you take a yad, are you using a yad and then?
Well, so what happened is a few years ago we were using it for teaching,
Uh-huh.
and then we were like, you know what, we should use this more. It would be so lovely.
Uh-huh.
And we actually found that once you read it once or twice, the letters just touching it with the yad,
Uh-huh.
they start to fly.
Yeah.
That makes that's really interesting.
Now, I'll tell you what's interesting for me for this particular Torah. There's a tradition, and I'm guessing your little Torah might be like that also, that they try, that when they write these, they usually copy them out of books now. And there's a tradition, there's a Torah that if you take a look at most Torahs that I read from, the first letter on the top of each panel will be a Vav.
Yes, exactly.
And this
you
one
do
is not
have
like that here.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
You're right. It is something that you see more often now, and you don't have it here. But
Yeah.
so you can see. So the other thing is, there's no dashes in Hebrew. So you have to finish up a word, but you also have to have it all equal on this side. So I don't know if you can tell looking at it, but like there, that's one letter that's really
stretch it.
stretched. And then up here, that one's a little bit smushed because they had to fit it all in there. So our little Torahs, which are the ones that usually our bar mitzvah kids read from, are much smaller, and the poor kids are sometimes like, what is that letter? So this one,
Speaking of
if we
which,
could
if you,
read, we
if you
would.
wanted to aggravate my son tonight, his partial respiration.
Is your son here?
He's here. I don't know where he just disappeared to, but he's here.
Well, I was looking at you all the
Right.
whole night.
Well,
and I did
Breshit
not
was
see
the
him,
other
so he
portion
must
of
be
the
very.
other
So
Torah.
he's
Yes,
here.
Breshit is.
He's
Oh,
here.
I
Well,
will go
well,
give him a
He no
time.
longer has curly hair. He has no
I love
hair.
Oh
Breshit.
my gosh, I need to. I had to say, it's funny because, oh my gosh, of course.
Is this on?
So this is parchment.
So it's parchment.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually funny because it looks thin, but actually this stuff is really strong. I mean, when
Yeah,
people,
it's quite
people
stiff.
hold it up, it doesn't like not going to tear or anything. It's,
Right.
Why did I think it was animal skin?
Well, that's it. Parchment is made out of animal skin. It's actually can be made of a deer skin or a cow
I
skin.
was
parchment
thinking
was out of
about the
animal
book
skin.
that we
I thought
did
parchment was a
in
type of
the,
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were talking
Well,
about,
exactly. And isn't it cool too, just thinking about, I mean, both the scribal arts are so cool, but even just making parchment is amazing. So, and this one does not have a Torah cover. So she's wearing my tallis tonight. And so I
I
put
know
her
when
away.
they carry it at the Holocaust
So,
ceremony.
so
Very
Michael
pretty.
brings one for
That's
it, but it's really
beautiful.
not the right size.
This
So-
is very pretty. I like
Thank
your
you. I got
tallis.
this when I was in rabbinical school. I love it too.
It's very nice.
Which is why it has a treble clef on it.
Enjoyed the service. It really is
Oh, I'm
beautiful.
so glad.
I'm glad I could follow the words.
Good. And well, you know what? That's what a lot of people do. So nothing
Yeah, we
wrong
can
with
go.
that.
I'm sorry. I
Oh
got
my gosh,
distracted.
please.
No, I was apologizing to my wife.
Oh.
Don't apologize for me. That's
I'll apologize to you. I know, we're into this.
wanting to put her away too.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We're gonna get a step away through. Oh my gosh, of course. Of course. Yeah, no, I'm so glad. It is. It's really cool, and it's usually we have it on display, but it's different than actually being able to be upstairs.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it feels like that's like a beautiful idea, but it's not going to. Yeah. This way it really.